When you put guns and rockets and missiles on a helicopter, great things happen. You're bringing friendship to the masses, and by friendship I mean explosions, because everybody likes explosions, especially that guy and the other guy over there and that one. They're like, yeah, rock, Apache Air Assault. What? I'm dead? Aw man, this sucks. You know, I always kind of assumed that Airwolf was like Knight Rider and flew itself, but it didn't. There was a human being that piloted Airwolf, which was real, and actually lived in a volcano. And I have more respect than ever for any human being that can actually pilot a helicopter, because it's damned hard in a video game, when you don't have to worry about killing yourself or wasting taxpayer money. And I kind of expected that going into this, that the controls were going to make or break Apache Air Assault. And in some respects, that's true. You have to give the controls a chance if you're interested in playing this game. It's not just HAWX with helicopters, it's far more challenging. But at the same time, you can hover over targets and shower them with missiles. I mean, that's priceless. The thing to keep in mind if you pick this game up is it's not immediately playable. You'll have to play a few of the missions over and over again to get the feel of the helicopter, because you're doing 2 or 3 things at once all the time in here. You're piloting the helicopter, you're trying to use missiles and rockets, and you're also trying to machine gun things simultaneously. And you can configure the controls pretty much any which way. There's 4 different camera views, and after hours of playing it, I'm still not sure what the perfect configuration is. It changes per mission. And the game is fun once you figure out how to fly this thing, but I'll get right to the point. It could have used a lot of refinement. And I get the sense that this is their first attempt, that there's definitely a lot of room for improvement, primarily in the mission objectives. Half the time it's just not really clear what it is you're supposed to do. And especially at the beginning of the game, Apache Air Assault is not kind to first-time players, which is kind of a problem for it. Because it'll turn off a lot of people if they don't give the game a chance. And the first major mission in the game, or maybe it's the second one, the Lord of War mission, it's like Black Hawk Down, is just ridiculous for an early mission because it's really long and not entirely clear where to land the helicopter at the end. So the player doesn't really get a sense for how to complete a mission. Fortunately, and here's some advice, you can jump ahead 2 or 3 missions to something shorter. It's more obvious. And then go back and play some of the other ones, and thankfully, the game is forgiving. If you're shot down or you crash, which you will a lot, you have extra lives, at least in the beginner setting. Now, the controls are tricky. In the camera pulled back perspective, as we're watching it here, I'm not sure why the helicopter is off-center, but you get used to that fairly quickly. The left control stick, this is the PlayStation 3 version, moves it forward or backward, left and right strafes. The right control stick will move it up or down and rotate it. So it's a lot more complicated than an airplane in an arcade-style flight game. And make no mistake, this is an arcade-style flight game. It's actually very similar to Tom Clancy's HAWX series. There's a storyline which is like ripped out of any other video game, terrorists, nuclear weapons, blah blah blah. They should have discovered dinosaurs and like sent you in to blow them all up or something. Mix it with Jurassic Park. That would have been a lot cooler. Like, oh no, we've discovered Tyrannosaurus Rex is eating people and the only thing in range is an Apache helicopter. Wow, you know what, that's actually the plot of every Godzilla movie. Never mind. But they always used, like, spaceships wrapped in tinfoil. When you push down on the left trigger, it'll auto-hover, and then you can go into that machine gun mode with a thermal view and start blowing things away, which leaves you vulnerable, of course, to missiles and RPG fire. This is one of those games that'll probably get beat up by a lot of people over controls, but you've got to give them some time, and even then it's still not perfect. I think that we've just become accustomed to like perfect games anymore, but this one's pretty tricky. Because of all of these different things that you're doing at once. They could have made it easier with more obvious objectives, and if there's a sequel, I think there's a lot of room for improvement that'll enhance an already cool experience. But as it is, it'll probably have more of a niche audience than just your straightforward airplane jet flight simulator or arcade-style flight game. It kind of reminds me of the old school classic, what was that, Comanche Maximum Overkill. which I mentioned in another review, but back in the 90s the games were not put under quite the same microscope as they are today. If you're up for the initial learning curve and some frustrating mission objectives until you figure out the game and are really into the helicopter stuff, then Apache Air Assault is one you might want to look at. It's not that long, but there's some free flight modes, but you've really got to love helicopters to dig Apache Air Assault. I look forward to the sequel, Apache Air Assault 2, with some more refinement and a more creative storyline. Helicopters versus dinosaurs. Apache 2 kills more dinosaurs before 7 a.m. than most meteorites do all millennium.